watch the chosen. All beasts will shiver from the lion to the crow. When winter comes, when times are starkest, when the wailing of the wolves fades with the sun, the wilds are numb, the days are darkest, the fates of many cease to rest on only one. Wars will not hold the winds.
Hi everyone, welcome to another stream. Tonight I'm going to be, I said I was going to do some pixel art, but I'm starting to do a game dev challenge instead. Xanderwood has got some art together for me, which we're doing a challenge where we have 24 hours to create a game. Xanderwood's created the art, I'm doing the coding, then Mighty Jor's going to do the music. So tonight I'm going to start making a game. I've had a look at the assets that Xander sent and I've got an idea, so here we go then. Hi Peter, you alright? Are the volumes of everything okay? Don't want to be deafening anybody. Right, so let's make a start. First of all, I will show you what Xander's sent through to me, so we know what I'm working with. Right, so this is what I've been sent. All the art assets are 16 by 16. There's quite a mixed bag of things. We've got a player character, fire, hearts and plus signs. Got a chicken for some reason. Who knows why we've got a chicken, but we've got one. A traffic cone. Various switches. Some enemies, ladders. These things here I'm presuming are vices. That's what I'm taking them as. We've got eggs. Then we've got various platform assets, some ice looking spikes, a present, some plants. So I've got a really good selection of things. The game I've come up with, it's not going to use them all, but there's a high chance that I'll be able to use quite a lot of them in it. Hey man, just stopped by to see the idea, can't stay long. Yep, no problem. The music's just a tad too high for me, it mixes up with your voice. Right, let's just turn that down slightly. Let me know if that's any better. Sorry for how random it all is, but that was the fun I had in mind. Yep, I'm loving the randomness. I've got some random ideas. So, the game that I'm planning on making with them. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm into retro things. So I'm planning on making a single screen platformer type game along the lines of things in the past like Bubble Bobble, Snow Brothers, Rodland, Sabaton Bomber. Ones where it's all on one screen platforms, there's enemies. I'm going to have the character firing a weapon, and the idea will be to collect as many eggs as possible before getting killed. Take inspiration as well from newer games like Whoa Dave, Super Crate Box, things like that. So that's the basic game idea. So we'll get Construct fired up and get ready. Way better. Thanks Peter, that's fine. Also made a little transition as well for when I'm swapping screens as well, so that's a new addition since the last stream. Right, so let's start a new project. I'm using Construct Free for this project. I've been using Godot recently, but Construct Free is something that I've used on and off for the last 6 years roughly. So I feel quite comfortable in it, especially with there being the time limit. I better set the timer going, or I'll be getting into trouble for not doing that. So there, we're on the clock now. Right, so I'll just call the game Free Dev Challenge for now. It's going to be retro style. The viewport tend to like to use for 16 by 16 320 by 180. It's a nice size. It scales to 720, 1080, even 4K. Totally fine without stretching. Right, as it's going to be a single screen game, we shall just fiddle with some of the settings. Don't need it bigger than that, so 320 by 180. Right, I'm going to set some things up first, just some basic shapes, and then I'll bring some art in a bit later on. Cool idea, good luck making it on the timer. Yep, hopefully, we'll see how it goes. The transition looks really professional. Yeah, just made it using in DaVinci Resolve. You streaming for 22 hours. No, this is going to probably be about an hour and a half to 2 hours tonight. And then over the next week I'm going to stream as much of it as I can. But no, I don't think I'll be capable of staying awake for 22 hours. Right, so let's start adding some things in. Construct's looking a little bit weird there, but not affecting me. Right, so we need a player. So we'll add a player in. Right, that is going to affect me, so I think I'm going to have to I'll just take that off screen just to save it. Get it saved, and then I'll be back with you. Right, okay, hopefully all the icons are correct now in Construct. Never had that happen before where they've all messed up, but I suppose it's always something new. Right, so this is going to be the player, so we'll just fill it at the moment just with a random colour. Check the bounding box is right, and check that the pivot's in the correct place. Right. In Construct, anyone that doesn't know, it's got a lot of pre-built behaviours that you can add to your characters and things. So I'm going to give it the platform behaviour. So that means that you get a lot of these stuff built in. Don't want default controls, and yes, I want it enabled to begin with. We've got to need keyboard for some keyboard controls to begin with. I will make it so you can use gamepads and things as well. Then we need to add some terrain that you can move on. So we shall add solid to it. Fill and make 16 by 16. Then I can just drag and drop that wherever it's needed. Set the image point correctly. Right, let's make snap to grid. Let's make a grid size of 16 by 16. And I'd snap to grid. Just set up a very basic level for now, just so that I can get a few things implemented. I'm planning on getting some ladders added, something that's quite often a little bit tricky with platforms is getting the character to go up and down the ladder, but I've got a ladder so I'll have to use it. Did you design the layout for the stream view? Yes, yeah, just made it in a mixture of A-Sprite and Affinity. Thanks, yeah, cheers, it looks great, that's good. Yeah, and the little timer that's in the bottom, I made that in Construct Free, so that's just a little Construct Free application running there. Right, when it comes to making the top of the ladder, I'm going to need something with the jump through behaviour to allow me to pass through it. So I'll add another sprite. Check the bounding box, pivot, and let's fill that in just another random colour. So we'll give that the jump through behaviour. Didn't rename that properly, so jump through. What I tend to do when I'm making the games, I tend to lay my whole level out just using these primitives and then use a tile map and just put the visual nice stuff over the top of it. And I'll attach the animation and hide this box for the player. So that can go in there. Did I give that solid? No, give that solid behaviour, otherwise we'll be falling through. Right, so we'll go to the event sheet. Construct, it's a visual event system as opposed to normal code. So you use the things that you've put down. So on key down, where's on key down? On key pressed. I don't want any key pressed, I want, which one am I on key pressed? So we'll A for left. And then we'll have that at the moment. Simulate control on the platform behaviour of left. Now if I duplicate that 3 times, we'll set up D for right. And simulate control right, and then jump, we'll use spacebar for jump. May change these later. I always get slated for my choice of keys for things, because I normally do things like it's a 1980s game, but all the kids these days like to use WASD, so right, so I'll show you what that's done so far. Very quick to get things up and running, so you'll see that strange. Why's that not moving so quick? Knock the jump strength down because that was a bit of a high jump. Alright, I know what I've done. I've done on key pressed. It's on key down is what I'm looking for. Key is down. What was happening there, it was just registering the one press as opposed to the key being held down, which is what we need for the jump but not for the rest of it. It should now work. Yep, that's a lot better. So we've got a player moving about. Another behaviour I'm just got to give the player is just confine it to the screen so it's not whizzing off anywhere. Bound to layout, that means the player won't be able to go outside this layout. I'll just demonstrate that. So there, they stuck to the layout. So we've got left and right movement and the player jumping. We can mess about with the values and strengths of the jump and speed. So next we're going to get on to adding ladder behaviour. I'm going to watch all this tomorrow. I have a 5 AM start, so call it a night. Good luck with those awful sprites. Cheers, Xanderwood. Thanks for popping by and thanks for drawing me those. I really do mean that. Not sure on the accent. Is it north of the M62? Yeah, I'm from Yorkshire originally, but currently residing in the northeast of Scotland, so currently way north of the M62. Right, so we need to add something for the ladder. So another sprite. Add this in. To begin with, we'll make it 8 wide. I just like the ladder to be slightly narrower so the full width of the player it doesn't sort of overhang silly on it, so make that a bit narrower. Now I've done that, line it in the centre and then that'll just give us the indication there and it keeps the bounding box where it was. Pop the image point in the top corner. And we now have a ladder that I'm going to try and make it so we can climb. Right. So what we need to do is we need to detect when the players overlapping the ladder. So player overlapping another object. We want the ladder. So when the player's overlapping the ladder and they are pressing the up key, the sub event. So now we'll add it as another event of that. Key is down. So when the W key is down and we're overlapping the ladder, we need to first of all give the player another behaviour, which I'm going to swap between. There's also an 8 direction behaviour, so what I'm wanting to do is when the player overlaps the ladder, I want to turn off the platform behaviour and turn on the 8 direction behaviour, which will then allow me to move up and down and left and right on the ladder. So we'll make it just 4 directions. You can move up, down, left and right. We don't want to change the angle when we're moving. I don't want the default controls because I'm going to set them myself, and I don't initially want it to be enabled because we want the platform behaviour to be enabled. Right, so what I'm going to need to do when he overlaps the ladder, I need to disable all the behaviours, so I'm going to make a function for that, which can then be called, and it'll just disable all the behaviours. Disable player behaviours. And then in here we want to stop the 8 directions, so yep, stop. We want to set it disabled. The 8 directions, set enabled, disabled, yep. Then we want to set the platform speed left, up and down and left and right to 0. So we'll start with set vector X to 0. Set vector Y to 0, and then we'll disable the platform behavior as well. Set disabled. I've done the wrong one there. I've done it on the 8 direction, not the platform. How is everybody tonight anyway in the chat? Are you all okay? Vector Y. So whenever I call this function, all the behaviours on the player, they'll get any movement, it'll be stopped and then they'll be disabled. So what we want to do, when the player's overlapping, let me just get my head around this. When they're overlapping, W key's down. First of all, we want to call this the function that I've just created, which is there. And then we want to set the 8 direction behavior enabled. So that's enabled. Then I'm going to have a state on the player that tells me whether the platform or the 8 direction behavior is enabled. So I'll add an instance variable to the player. I'll just call it state for now. Behavior state, because I may end up using state as well just to control the animations. Initial value, it's going to be the platform behavior that's initially there. So the initial value is platform. So when we start climbing, I'm going to change that state to climbing. Set value, so we'll set that value to climbing, and then we can use that if we need to, well, to tell whether it's climbing or the platform. Right, let's see what that's done. So when we're over there now, we press the up key and nothing's happening. What have I missed? Overlapping, W's down. Actually, we want to trigger that once while true. I think what it may be doing is constantly turning off and the behaviours and therefore never actually moving. Fingers crossed that's what was happening. So we move to the ladder and still nothing happens. Turn the behaviour off because I can't move anywhere now. Right, why is that not working? 8 direction enabled. Oh, I disabled the default controls, so it doesn't actually know what that's doing when I'm pressing the W key. It's turning it off and setting all the things, but then it's not actually doing anything with it. So key down. So when the W key is down, we want to simulate the 8 direction behaviour. And we want to simulate it moving up. And while we're at it, we shall add in the down behaviour as well. So when we're pressing S, we want to set the 8 direction behaviour to down. Right, let's see if that's working. Move across, and there we have it. It's now moving up and down. But once I get to the top of the ladder, it doesn't know it's at the top of the ladder yet, and the 8 direction behaviour stays. It doesn't re-engage the platform behaviour. So I'll sort that out next. Right, let's have a look at the chat. Right, so when we get to the top of the ladder, we need to re-engage the platform behaviour. So we'll add a new event when the player is overlapping another object, the ladder, and then we'll invert that so it's when they're not overlapping the ladder. We'll call that function again to disable it. Hi Mighty Jor, looking great, yep, cheers, thanks for that. Only been going, I don't know, maybe quarter of an hour, something like that. You know, getting off half an hour. Just getting the basic behaviours together. Right, what was saying? Right, so function, we'll disable all the behaviours. Then we'll re-enable the platform behaviour. Enabled. And we'll also set the value of the behaviour state back to platform, as we're now no longer climbing. Right, let's check if that's worked. Curious to see the dreaded sprite sheet. Right, I'll get that for you. Right, let's change the screen. This is the sprite sheet that Xander's kindly provided me with. We've got what I'm assuming, or I'm using as the player character up here in the left. We've got fire. We've got these bluey ball things which I'm planning on using as a projectile for the gun which I'm pretending the player's got. We've got some fire. We've got vices. I'm reliably informed they are. Switches, a chicken. Go figure. A cone, eggs. Were you here early? You were here, Mighty Jor, when I was explaining what actual game I'm making. And then we've got ladders, platforms, plants, presents, a few enemies. I do like the spider. Ah, wow, why those colours? Yeah, there's a good mixture of colours. I don't know what palette he's used, but it's got to make some interesting gameplay. I'm planning on making a game very much like sort of your 80s single screen platformers. Enemies are going to appear at the top here, and they'll gradually work their way down on the platforms. If they get to the bottom, they'll fall out. But then if they fall through, they'll get really angry and therefore go faster when they'll reappear at the top. So it'll be in your interest to kill them before they drop out, or they'll get progressively harder. So I've got, I think, 4 different enemies there, so they're going to be the harder ones. You'll start off with one, then I'll move on to the others in some logical order. And you'll have to collect the eggs. That's going to be the idea of the game, collecting eggs to score points and stay alive as long as you can. So I'm hoping to use most of the sprites. I think there's some that I'll struggle to get in. There's some at the bottom. The dice, I've really got no idea what I could use them for in my idea, but something might come to me. So that's the basic idea of the game. I'm hoping it should be doable in the time as well. I'm aiming to try and get it done in maybe 13 or 14 of the hours, pass it over to you for the music, and then once you've done that, I'll see how long I've got as to how much polish I can add to it. So we currently disable the behaviour when it goes off the top. Next we need to make it so that when we've got to the top of the ladder, started moving about again, why is that not working now? What have I disabled? All stopped working for some reason. Oh, I think I've done the same as I did before. I think I need a trigger once to make that work. Let's have a look. Yeah, I'm doing the same again as I did before. I'm constantly calling this to cancel the behaviours. So I need to add a trigger once in there so it only does it the first time it's true. Then drag those in. It's about 6-7 months since I last used Construct 3, so it's just, I'm a little bit rusty. Dice could be health or game speed, difficulty. Yeah, that's a good plan. I think I can probably work that in, so yeah. Tell you what, I'll write that down now, because I'll forget otherwise. I'd like to try and use as all of them, if not most of them. I'll have to start brainstorming music ideas. Yeah, so the style of the game has got to be very sort of 80s arcadey feel, so I don't know whether that gives you any ideas or what theme you could get from the various sprites that I've been provided with. But I'll leave that to you, because I'm useless at music. I go as far as using asset packs and BFXR to make 80s chiptune sound effects. Right, so let's check if that's working. We get to the ladder, we go up at the top, and now we can't come down, so I need to make it so we can come down. So we'll check if the player is overlapping. It's overlapping at an offset, which means it'll check at an offset from wherever the player is for it. So I'll make it a few pixels lower on the Y and give it another condition to check for the keyboard, the down direction, which is S. If it's doing that, I'll remember this time to do the trigger once. I could spell trigger. And then we want to call the function to disable all the behaviours. We want to set the 8 direction enabled. Do you start from scratch every time, or do you have a bunch of basic layouts of different games you've done before? It all depends. On this, I've decided to start from scratch, just with me streaming it and it being a time challenge. Often I will reuse things, but a lot of the time with Construct it's quite difficult importing things that you've used before, so I do with Construct tend to start from scratch. But I use Godot as well, and I've started building a library up of behaviours for Godot, so I can just import those into a project. I'm just currently looking at trying to get Git submodules working with it so I can pull them in that way. So we'll set the 8 direction enabled, and because I don't want to type it again, we'll set climbing to that. So I think that should now enable us to move down. Judge Clark, are you game dev? Right, so we can move down, but now when I get to the bottom of the ladder I can't get off the ladder, so I need to add some form of trigger down there that when the player gets to the bottom they can get off the ladder. Got to check in on the baby, back later, check progress, etc. See how it goes. Yeah, cheers. I'll speak to you later. I should be on probably for another hour and a quarter, so then I'm planning on maybe getting a stream in tomorrow afternoon, 3:30, so right, let's have a look. So let's add another sprite. We'll call this ladder bottom trigger. Add that to the scene. Make it the same size as everything else, just so it fits in the grid. What I want to do with this, I'll set the player's Y position to the image point when it's done as well. Another colour for a bit of variety. Bounding box, image point. Right, so I'll move that to the bottom of the ladder. Couple of months into Construct. Oh, cool. How are you finding it? Is this your first sort of programming of any type, or have you any experience in any non-game programming? Right. So we'll now trigger an event that when it's overlapping it'll be at an offset with the trigger at the bottom. Overlapping at offset. That. Yeah, we'll go with 2 again. It should be enough with it only being 16 pixels anyway. Trigger once again. And again we'll call this function to disable all the behaviours. We'll set the platform behaviour enabled. And set the behaviour to platform. So overlap at the bottom at an offset, trigger once. Yep, right, that should now allow us to get off the ladder as well. So left, right, can get on the ladder, go up, we'll get off the ladder at the top. We can then get back on the ladder. Right, that's not getting off. Right, what I need to do, I think, is set the Y position of the player as well when he comes off. Position to X, self X, and the ladder bottom trigger Y. Did some Spectrum bits, had about 35-year break, then wanted to try again. That's very similar to myself, but just a few years later. I did a few bits Spectrum stuff back in the 80s, and then around about my 40th birthday, so about 6.5 years ago, I discovered Construct, and since then I've been back to college and got a computing degree and a job as a software engineer, so starting dabbling with Construct has sort of led to a whole new career. Right, so that should now hopefully allow me to get off the ladder at the bottom. Ladders are one thing that I always try and avoid adding to games because I never seem to get them 100% right. If I could get one working perfectly sometime, then I would use it in every single project. Right, well, that looks to be working. The only thing that looks to be happening is when I'm moving across, there's a little stutter, so I'm thinking it's probably calling the trigger once at the bottom of the ladder, even though it's not been climbing, and checking and stopping the behaviour. So I will have a go at fixing that by adding a condition in to check if it's whether it's climbing or not. So if it's overlapping there, add another condition and compare the state. Compare instance variable, and if that is climbing, only do that if we're climbing as opposed to on a platform. That should fix that little stutter. It looks to still be doing it, but so overlapping the bottom trigger. Behavior state equals do that. I think I may leave that for now and just fix that later. It's not a game breaker if it doesn't work totally, that bit. Fix ladder. Right. Right, what should we look at doing next? Right, let's have a look at getting these player sprites imported. I'm going to add another couple layers as well. We'll have this as the layer where all the physical sort of level is. Level layout. Then this layer will be where all the nice pretty sprites go over the top. Level sprites. And for now we'll just have one more layer, although I do go a bit mad with layers, so there will be a lot more up here. And that can be the player layer. Get rid of that. Right, move that to the player layer. All those are already on the level layout layer. Right, let's add sprites. If you're wondering why I'm putting these little sprite and things in front of things, I just find it easier to keep track of what things are when a project gets bigger in the project over here, if things have got like a prefix to them. So like keyboard, that's a system object, so I just normally change that to stick an OBJ in front. I just find it an easier way of keeping track of stuff. So I'll make this 16 by 16. Put the image pointer at the bottom. We'll leave it as a full bounding box for now. And I'll just flood fill it with a colour so I don't lose where it is on the screen for now. And then we'll switch over and get these sprites cropped that Xanderwood sent me through. Xanderwood and Mighty Jor, who are doing this challenge with me, the links to both their YouTube channels are in the description for this stream if anybody's interested in checking out their channels. They both got some great videos. Right, so player. Let's have a look. I think this will be the walk cycle. Yep, that's all that I need for the walk. So I don't use pixel edit very often, so I'm not as fluent with it, so I'm going to cut and paste things into a sprite, which I normally use. Not the most efficient workflow, but it'll work. Right, new file, 64 by 16. And then we shall save that. I'll just save that to my desktop for now. Let's play a walk. Save that as a PNG. Then what other sprites have we got here for it? We've got a walk. That one I think I could probably use as a ladder climbing. Let's just check what that looks like. Yep, that'll do as a ladder climbing. So let's cut and paste that. Get rid of those. Just change the size of that canvas to 48. On the left. So, how much better do you think Construct 3 is than Construct 2? It's a massive improvement. I was a bit sceptical when they first announced it, especially with the fact that it was got to run in a browser. I know a few people I know that used it held off getting it, but I got it straight away and was won over pretty quickly with the browser aspect of it. And since then, what I always like with Construct 2, there's like updates near enough weekly of things, and they're always working on new features. The export options to like mobile are so much better in Construct 3. That used to be a real hassle in Construct 2. You used to have to go through all sorts of third-party sort of apps and things to get them to actually play on a mobile device, whereas now it's just pretty much one click and you've got your mobile export. And I've been away from Construct for about 6-7 months using Godot on another project which I'm working on, and even in that short time there's lots of new things like the scene graph, sort of the hierarchy thing. That's all new. I was having a quick look at that earlier. And the meshes that they've started using, so you can probably seen it how you can like deform sprites and they stretch and things. That looks really cool. So I think after I finish my current Godot project, I probably will come back and probably polish this up and maybe have a look at some of these new features. Are you working on anything particular, or are you just learning at the moment? Right, what can we use as a jump? I think maybe that just one single frame as a jump and one as a falling animation. So this one will go with as a jump. G. Play a jump. And this one will do as a player fall, I think. Right, so let's go back to construct. Right, let's import these animations. Oh, actually, I've forgotten one. Need an idle animation as well. Not really got an animation for idle. Maybe I can get away with these two here. I know they're facing forwards, but that might work. I'll try that. If not, I'll use a single frame from the walk animation. Hi, Just Frederick. Welcome to the stream. Currently doing a game challenge, making a game between 3 people in 24 hours. I'm doing the coding part, being given a sprite sheet to work from, which is here on screen at the moment. Xanderwood's made that. His YouTube channel's down in the description. He's made me this, and now I've got to make a game out of it and then pass it on to Mighty Jor, who's then going to add music to it and pass the music, well, they pass the music back to me to add to it. So this is what we're working on. So we'll save that as an idle animation. I've not saved that as PNG, so... Oh no, it has. Right, let's get them added into Construct now. Yeah, I saw your stream link in Xander's Discord. Alright. Well, thanks for joining anyway. Are you into game dev yourself? So that's going to be the idle animation. We will import frames from strip. Desktop idle. Hi Sticks, how are you doing? Well, we've got a couple of new people in. I'll sort of go through roughly what game I'm making. The sprite sheet that I've been given, Sticks, just so that you're up to speed with what's happening, is here. So these are the sprites that Xanderwood's given me to make a game from. I've got player character, some various enemies, fire, a chicken, a traffic cone, some switches, eggs, vices, some ground tiles and plants, a ladder. I hate doing ladders, but we've been working on getting the ladder mechanic working and it's working. So that's what I've got to make, and as you won't be surprised knowing me, I'm making a retro theme game. It's going to be based on stuff like Bubble Bobble, sort of a single screen platformer, or Snow Brothers, Rodland, things like that, where enemies will appear at the top, they'll make their way down, and there'll be an exit at the bottom. If they go out the bottom, it'll be fire, using the fire sprite sheet, and that'll make them angry, and they'll appear again at the top then, but they'll be even quicker or tougher to kill. I haven't decided on that bit yet. And you'll have a weapon of some sort that you'll fire and try and kill them, and you'll have to collect eggs. And the fun little thing with the sprites, I've decided that the way the eggs are going to spawn is you'll pull one of the levers I've been given. It'll make two of the vices squash the chicken, which will squeeze an egg out of it. So that's how that's going to work, hopefully. Hi Emma. Hi Fine Line, how are you doing? Good to have you here. I liked Bubble Bobble. Yeah, I love Bubble Bobble. Rainbow Islands and pretty much any 80s game I love. Judge Clark in the chat, he's an ex-Spectrum owner as well, so a few retro people about here tonight. So currently what I've got working in the 45 minutes so far roughly that I've been working on this, we've got a player that moves backwards and forwards. This is a ladder which you could climb up a few minutes since, but you can now not climb up. Okay, so I broke something. No idea what I've broke because it was working. Probably the order I've got the event sheets in. But I'll carry on importing the sprites first and I'll worry about that in a few moments. So this is going to be the idle animation. Shall loop it. It's facing forward, but it's the only thing that looks sort of roughly like an idle animation that I've been given, so there, so that's the idle animation. We will add a walk animation. How are you all tonight anyway? Emma, Fine Line, Sticks, are you all alright? Nice chicken. Fine Line obviously loves a chicken. Import frames from strip. Player walk. For import. Speed that up a bit. Does that need to ping pong? Looks a little bit odd. No, I'm just my eyes thought it was fine now. Right, then we will also add a jump and a fall animation, which by animation it's only one frame, but jump. And we will import frames from strip. And that's the player jump. And then we'll add a fall animation as well. Fall animation. Right. I think I've got the pivot point set up wrong yet. So I could just do it in one go actually and just to apply it to all the animations, but I've not done. Getting the meet up done already. Yeah, we're all here, so just need Dunnikin to turn up and we're all good. Same as always. Aye, good, just looking at old Amiga games after discussing stuff with UPSG and Pedro. The Amiga had some amazing games. Is it 24 hours continuous? No. It's... Xanderwood did the art in about just over an hour and a half. And he did that a while back. So I've just noticed that my countdown clock has totally stopped. I'll just have to calculate it from how long the stream is. And then I'm planning on over the next 7 or 8 days streaming, doing most if not all of it on stream, my part. But no, definitely not 24 hours continuous. And the countdown's working again. Strange. It's because I've made the countdown timer myself. I knocked it up earlier in Construct quickly before the stream, and it's obviously a bit buggy. Right, there's this new hierarchy thing, isn't there, Sticks, which I probably need to look at using instead of pin, which I normally do. Start with layout. And player. So add child, is it reading add child? That's why. Don't want that, don't want that. don't want it to angles and elevation. Destroy with parent, yes. So if my understanding's correct, that will set that. Looking forward to this episode too, by the way. Yeah, if anybody's wanting to join a game jam, Game Jam 192 episode 2 is coming. It's a game jam run by with our local indie game group. I will add into the description a link to that after the stream. It's casual game jam, 8 days or 192 hours long, and anybody that wants to join, they're more than welcome. Right. Let's see if my understanding of scene graph is correct. Yeah. Right, and now I need to try and work out why this ladder stopped working. Let's have a look at the code. So if plays over ladder W down, trigger once. I've got a function that is called whenever I change state that just destroys all the, stops all the behaviours, sets all the movement to 0 and then sets them disabled. Overlapping ladder. To offset this. Maybe it's just the order I've got these things in now. And I'll move that one up to there. W is down, 8 direction up. Actually, I need to add so you can move on and off the ladder as well when you're on it. If you move left, simulate pressing left, and then D to simulate right. So Sticks, what Amiga games have you been looking at? I've been playing quite a lot of Amiga games lately. As you know, for Christmas I got my Raspberry Pi 400, so I've got it set up with Amiga ROS on it, so it boots as an Amiga now on one of the memory cards I've got in it. And I've got a joystick as well, somewhere here. Got a QuickShot Competition Pro joystick as well, so living the Amiga dream. How does it feel being a streamer instead of watcher? I thought I'd be a lot more nervous than I actually am, but I think because I've watched like Sticks and that many other people streaming, that I've just got in the habit of being involved in this type of discussion, so it's not too bad. But you tell me, you're sat there, is it any good or not? Right, the right keys, that's D. So pressing right. Right, let's see if changing that order of stuff's fixed it. I'm hoping it has. Right, what did I add in last? I added that in, so let's toggle that disabled and see if that fixes it. Yes, that's what broke it. So yes, I do have a ladder working. You can go up. I've got a little bug now that when you go over the bottom, which I was hoping to fix with that comment that I've disabled, you get slowed down slightly, but it's not going to be a game breaker if that's still in there. But you can jump on the ladders and hopefully you can come off. Need to change the speed because the speed is very fast for the player. Lurking. Cheers for popping in, Sticks, and thanks for lurking. Ooh, very nice. Was that to the ladder working or the Raspberry Pi? Yeah. Maximum speed, let's bring that down a bit. Have it fast acceleration, gravity doesn't need to be as much. And we'll bring the maximum fall speed down a bit as well. See what that looks like. Probably a bit too much jump now, but I'll fiddle with this one, see. Game's finished. Let's get the gravity back up. Right, what's next that I'm wanting to do? Right, we will start working on adding an enemy in. Why not? So, sprite. I'll be really imaginative with my naming, and we'll have enemy 1. Now it's going to be 16 by 16 like all the art is. We'll set the image point to the bottom. Bounding box is fine, and we will. Enemies are dangerous, it can be red for now. Right, what I'm planning on doing is making this enemy just be able to, it'll come in from the top and it'll just go left and right to begin with until it gets to the bottom, respawn and come back in at the top, but be harder. So I'll get some movement working first. So we'll give it the platform behaviour. We will give it an instance, remove default controls. We'll set the speed to 150. It's not going to be jumping at the moment, so I won't change that. We need an instance variable to keep track of which direction it's going in. So we will add a boolean, and we will call that moving right, and we'll have that as true initially. Right, I need to split these event sheets up at some point, but yeah, we might as well do it now. I like to keep separate event sheets just so that I keep track of where stuff are. So we will have one that will be the main game controller. Seeing as I've put all the player stuff in this one currently, we will call that player, and we will create an event sheet which will be used for the enemies. You do seem like you've been doing this for ages, very natural. Well, I'm up to about 2 hours now, so feels like ages. To be honest, I just get engrossed in what I'm doing and forget that I'm streaming to anybody. I just keep having to remember to look at the chat. And I need to add some little games in on the bottom and stuff, like Sticks has on his stream. Right. So we'll give the event sheet that this level will now use will be the game one. Having not used Construct for 6 or 7 months, I'm forgetting where some things are. I can somewhere choose the event sheet there. Event game. In the event game we will include the other sheets that we need. Enemies. Let's check that's not broken anything. That countdown stopped moving again. Right, everything's still working. Yeah. Right, enemies. We'll compare the boolean that we've set. If it's moving right, we will simulate the control of moving right. Simulate controls. There, simulate controls right. And then we shall add an else. Move it left. So that should now just make it, it'll start moving right and then it'll go off the edge of the screen, but let's just check that that is what happens. Yep, off it goes into oblivion. What I'll do to stop that happening and to actually trigger it changing direction is add some sides to this. So now it should just go to the edge and stop. And it hits that solid. So what I now need to do is check for collisions. You working on any games at the moment, Fine Line? Seeing as we're having this monthly meeting, I'll ask you now. Right, I've got to create a family and then all these solids can go in there. Yeah, so we'll add that in the jump through because I'll always trigger anything solid happening. Solids. And then in the enemy script, we'll check if, where's my enemy? Check if that is overlapping at an offset. So what this does, it just moves the collision box by whatever offset I want. So I'm going to move it 2 pixels to the right, so it'll detect, then overlap the wall a couple of pixels early, and at that point I'm going to trigger it changing direction. And we'll do that by toggling the bool on the moving right bool. So with a bit of luck, that should then hit the wall, change direction, come back, fall off the end. No, it doesn't. Let's have a look if that goes as a child of that while it's moving right. Right, that may work. Hey! And then we now need to duplicate that event because we will then change that and make it do the left as well. Working on a few projects. some personal, some for clients. Ooh, clients, very fancy. So we'll now check out an offset of -2. That's to the left of it. And then we will toggle again. So that should now continuously make that go left and right. And when I add the hole in the bottom of the level, it should then drop out. I need to do some level design on this, but don't know why it's not letting me save my progress. Just download a copy in case it breaks for any reason. Right, so let's... What we never did, I imported all the visuals for the player, but I never actually set those working. Get rid of that bit for now because that wasn't working. Right, player animations. Right, there's various things on here that we can check so we can set things. So if it's on the floor, add another condition on the floor and he's not moving. You can just invert the moving thing and it then changes it into a knot. Player visuals. Play set animation to idle and play that from the beginning. So that should hopefully have, yep, it's not moving, starts when it continues playing because I'm not knocking it off, but it is starting. So we now have, if the player is on the floor and the player is moving, player is moving. And let's copy that in and change that to walk. What we also need to do when we're changing the direction of the player, pressing left and right, I need to change the animation to flip it so that when we are going, is that right or left? I did it on, right, that's down. Something like pressing left. There's an option to mirror, so set mirrored and set not mirrored. It should now do the walk. Yep. There we have our little guy walking backwards and forwards and having a little idle stand when he's stops moving. So next we need to do it so that the animation for climbing. So we'll do that when we are overlapping the ladder. Overlapping. Where's best to put this? Maybe in a separate event, yeah, sprite player, overlapping. Although I'm actually setting a variable to climbing, so that'll probably work if I check if it's climbing. So compare instance variable, and if the behavior state is climbing, then we will did I call the animation climb or climbing? Nothing, I didn't actually even import it. So we shall add that first. Climbing. And that will be looped. Import from strip. And let's grab the climbing animation. Import that. Let's check that's working fine. And then maybe a bit faster. Hi Uladamas, back again. We've had a slight change of plan of what I'd said I was going to work on the last stream. I was going to be doing pixel art, but I'm doing a game dev challenge. I've been provided with some art by Xanderwood, and I've got to make a game using it, and then Mighty Jor's going to create the music for the game, which I'll then have to add in. I'll just quickly show you the art that I've been given. So this is the sprite sheet that I've been provided with. We've got player character, lots of random things like fire, chickens, spiders, cones, eggs, a ladder, a present, various tiles, some dice, which I couldn't think what to use, but someone on stream earlier suggested that maybe it'd be a good idea to use them for sort of difficulty levels or health or something like that, so that's something I may use those for. But that's what I've got to work with, and I'm planning on making a retro style game, sort of like 80s games like Bubble Bobble, Snow Brothers, Rodland, things like that. And more recent stuff like Super Crate Box and Whoa Dave. So that's the plan. Oh yeah, I'm in a different engine as well than the other night. This is Construct Free. It's an engine that I've used for about six and a half years now, on and off. And I'm comfortable with it, so for a challenge like this, where it's time related, I thought it's best using something that I'm happy with. So I'm going to be streaming this for the next, well, over the next week, probably a couple of hours at a time until the challenge is done, and then I'll be going back to the Ghost Blaster development on the streams. Right, so we're climbing now, so let's set the animation to climb. I did call it climb, didn't I? Climbing. So behavior state climbing. Right, let's check if that's working. Yep, we've got that working. What I want it to do is not carry on playing when the player stopped, so let's add a sub event to that to check the velocity. He's moving, yep. So if it's moving, play that. Else. We will stop. Right, let's see if that works. Very nice art and ideas. Yeah, the art's... I didn't know what to expect because Xanderwood told me that it was going to be a bit different and not totally connected. I think to try and challenge me to come up with something a bit different. And one of the things that I'm planning on doing, the idea of the game, you'll be collecting eggs. And one of the ways to get the eggs to actually be laid is you've got to pull the lever, and the vices that are there, they'll sort of move together and squeeze the chicken, which will then make an egg fall out. So that's sort of the plan with that, to try and get some of these sprites used in the game. Hi Shiba Dog Studios. Yeah, it's going well. Yeah, we've got quite a bit of progress. We've got, as you can see, a player moving about. A ladder mechanic, which I need to set my image point because that's going a bit wrong, the player animation, but climbs up, has an animation that plays and stops on the ladder. Still need to add the jump and fall animation, so that's what I'll add in a moment. I'll quickly show you the sprite sheet that Xanderwood's provided me with. So these are the sprites that he's given me. Player sprite, various things, chicken, eggs, vices, some enemies, some tiles, some plants. So a bit of variety there. So that's what we're working with, and we're making a retro sort of 80s style one-screen platformer along the lines of Snow Brothers, Bubble Bobble, those types of things. Animal rights will be on to you. Yeah, probably. No chickens are harmed, they're just gently squeezed. That could sound really wrong if someone came on a thing and heard me talking about squeezing chickens. Right, so next animation. Let's check if the player's jumping. It's really good construct because it has all these things already programmed in for you to check these things. So we will play the jump animation when it's jumping, and then we will duplicate that and we will check for falling, and when we're falling we will play the fall animation. Can I just check, is the countdown timer actually going down on people's screens, or is it stuck on yours as well? I'm just wondering if it's just something in Streamlabs that it's not moving, or whether it isn't actually moving. Right, so let's check these animations. Walk plays, jump, and play. And then we get that, and that. Now I need to fix that slight error with the pivot points. Climbing, just set these to the bottom, and that should fix that issue. And the climbing all works. Perfect. Right, that enemy's moving a bit fast, so we shall change that speed a bit. Probably speed them up as they get angrier after they 22:40, 20, yeah. Fair enough, I'll have to calculate how long I've worked after the stream. My dodgy coding's made a timer that countdown timer that doesn't count down. Like our clock at work. Yeah, know the feeling. Right, so we will try and add in the animations to the enemy as well. So let's switch back to these sprites. Which ones shall we have first? Let's have a look at these animations. I can probably get two different enemies by having that one and that one, and then another two down here. So, and I've got a spider. So 6 enemies I've got that I can make probably out of these sprites I've been given. So we'll just start off with these ones for now, I think. So we'll cut and paste those into a sprite. And save that strip as a PNG. And we'll call that enemy 1 walk. And then we'll flip back to construct. And we shall add a new sprite in. And that will be enemy 1 visuals. If I could spell, that will change that in a moment. So animation is walk, and we shall import the strip that I've just created. It's 2 horizontal, set it to loop, about 10 frames. Check that. May need slowing down, but that'll do for now. Right. Should probably be using families more, because pretty much all of these enemies have got to have the same behaviours, so I may end up adding them all to a family and have the behaviours on there, but for now I'll get them working probably individually. Right, so how did I do it with the player? I'll just copy that and stick it up at the top. Enemy 1. That's enemy 1, and that is the enemy 1 visuals. Early start tomorrow. See you next time, fella. Thanks for dropping by, Judge Clark. It's been nice having you here. Hope to see you again. Right. So I think I have to put that. Set the image point. I think I have to set that there, or it doesn't do it. Something wrong with my Construct 3 tonight. It's just not saving. I'm keeping having to manually download a copy of it. Right, so the enemy, let's get the walk animation playing when it moves. So sprite enemy visuals. Platform behaviour, actually, it's that one. Platform behaviour is moving. And that is play. Set animation. Keep looking for something called play, but it's set animation. Right, let's see what that looks like. Yep, enemies moving, the animation's playing. Probably going to add a fall animation as well, because it looks a bit weird if it's still moving when it's falling. So we'll just duplicate that. Call that fall. And which frame shall we have as fall? Yeah, we'll just have that one. And then we'll add another event to check if it's falling. If it's falling, set the animation to fall. Right, that didn't change it. Right, I need to add another condition in here to check if it's on the ground. Because obviously it was still playing it because it was still moving even though it was falling as well. If it's on the ground. So that'll check if it's on the floor and it's moving, then it'll play that animation. I think that worked. Right, so that's that. What we'll quickly do now is add in a tile map so that I can start bringing some of... Actually, we'll create the tile map first, because I don't need to bring all these sprites in for it. Graphics. And probably the last thing I'll do tonight is just get some of a tile sheet created for the scenery items. Probably mainly this lot down at the bottom. Let's cut from there, top of the ladder. Copy that into A Sprite, just because I prefer working with A Sprite. Those lot, we don't need those to be on it. Just move all these up to the top to neaten it up. We've already got one black, so we don't need that. I'll leave that empty around the bottom just in case I need to add any other things into it. I'll call that level tile sheet. Save that as a PNG. Get that added into the game. Call that level tile map. And then now loading tile sheet we've created. where do I change the size of the tiles? Over there. There we go. So set that to 16 by 16. And I should now be able to draw with these tiles. Hopefully. And voila, we have a ladder. Zoom in a bit more and let's have a look. Maybe. No, I'm probably going to have to make something for the top of the ladder. Combine some of these sprites. Maybe have that there. Right, I must have got the layers wrong for some of the game items because that solid there isn't showing. Yeah, it's on the player level. It should be on the. Well, looks to be the. Oh, that one's on the wrong layer. So that one is. Right. Right, so just continue drawing. Clock's now 22. Very slowly. I can get it moving again, but as soon as it loses focus, it stops working. Which is strange. Oh well, I've been working on it a lot longer than that. Just add a few of these in so at least I get a rough idea of what the level's got to look like. Add a bit of grass on things if I want. And right. Well, I'm pretty pleased with how much I've managed to get done there in just short of 2 hours. We've got a player moving about, a ladder mechanic working, the player can go up and down ladders. I've got an enemy that moves backwards and forwards. I've got all the player animations hooked up, the enemy's animations hooked up. So I think we're on good here, so probably still got just over 20 hours left. Planning on about 10 to 8 hours left, passing it over to Mighty Jor to do the music, and then that'll give me time to get the music back, implement that, and just check for any bug fixes. So I think that's going to be me for tonight. So thanks everybody for dropping by. Yeah, it's working. I've left it on top of Streamlabs, and for some reason it's working. It's second it seems to lose focus and disappear behind some other window, it stops working. But that's my dodgy programming for you. So I'm going to call that a night. Thanks everyone for joining me. I may get an afternoon streaming tomorrow. If not, it'll probably be Monday before I'm streaming this again. So I will catch you all later.